Lena. Okay, so today I will be talking about budgeting and budgeting for happiness. Budgeting is something I myself just started strictly this year, only in January. And so today I will share my own experiences, lots of, I think, study also I've done around budgeting, around happiness, and my views and reflections of why budgeting is important. But to start talking about budgeting, I want to go back because whatever we do with our money or for our money, the final goal is actually financial well-being. And if we look at definition of financial well-being, it's a state of being wherein a person can fully meet current and ongoing financial obligations, can feel secure in her financial future, and can make choices that allow her to enjoy life. So financial well-being is a state when we take care of our finances short-term, when we take care of our financial future, and when we are really using the money we have for what is important for us. So we have, if I can put it this way, to have financial well-being in balance, there are different tools. So we will have, for the short-term finances, we have our budgeting process. For the long-term finances, we have our financial plan. And all this is impossible. The foundation of all this is lots of self-reflection. Because we cannot do this without understanding why is it important for us and who we are. Budgeting. Nobody likes budgeting. And here there is a very nice quote from Carl Richards and his book, The One-Page Financial Plan. I recommend always this book also when we work on a financial plan. And actually he writes good things about budgeting as well. So here he says, budgeting clearly has a marketing problem. It's a bit like flossing. We understand how important it is to floss, but it's not something we like to even think about, let alone actually do. So we lie to the dentist about how often we do it and promise to do better, only to skip it again the next day. And I really agree. So budgeting is not something you want to do, and it's actually something you're almost likely to lie to yourself and to the others that you are doing. But I was thinking, so why should we do budgeting? No? And why I would do budgeting. So I survived actually big part of my life without doing any budgeting because I always was able to save. I always have, I think, good control of my finances. And budgeting didn't seem important. But if I look at the final goal, if I look at the financial well-being, then it is impossible without budgeting. So it's like you care about time. You believe that time is a scarce resource. So you cannot manage time without having a clock. So it's impossible. You kind of can survive, but you have to look at the clock to manage your time. So if you want to manage your finances, it's impossible to do it without budgeting. And here I came up with my own definition of what would be the budgeting process. And the budgeting process would be your system for managing revenues and expenses, assisting you in achieving your goal of financial well-being. So we all have to somehow to manage our revenues and expenses, but the goal is financial well-being. So the goal is not only to save, because that's kind of also was my personal understanding. We need budgeting to be able to save. But if you can save, then actually budgeting is not so necessary. No, budgeting is necessary for your financial well-being. And to me personally, I realized that budgeting was important and is important to feel good about my financial decisions and to feel good about the state of finances overall. It eliminated lots of, I would say, anxiety around finance, because it gives lots of control, the feeling of control. Anna, what is your idea about budgeting? Because I know you do lots of budgeting.
Yeah, for me, it's a habit already, and it's very important. It's very important because as I work, I mean, I'm freelance and I have my own business. So the way I manage my budget and have idea of my revenues and how are my expenses is very important to have. To know my predictions, my forecasts, and have peace of mind too. And so it's something very, in fact, very connected with my business.
Understand? Yeah. So so we both agree that it's important.
Yes,
but,
it's important.
But is it difficult?
For me now, it's not difficult because I have a very good template that a friend of mine, a financial friend, might pass me, and it's just a question to have a habit, and just to update the expenses. This is the only thing, really to have in mind, to update the expenses and and dedicate time. I mean, we'll dedicate half an hour per week.
Okay. So that's quite quick. I would say, well, half an hour per week, no? So right. Okay. So that's
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because everything is the update. If I don't update my expenses, then suddenly I need to book 1 hour or 1 hour and a half to update my expenses of the last 3 months. But anyway, as I have already other years, I do it, so I know more or less what is the average of expenses per month.
But you're talking about business expenses or personal or both? How do you do it?
Personal. But they are together, in fact. I mean, it's in a point of time there, it's together.
Okay, so then it is complicated. Okay, I understand. Okay, so what else? I believe that financial well-being, it is actually where money meets happiness. No, so we kind of use money to make us happy, and if we reach this financial well-being balance, that's when we should be satisfied with what we have. And if we look at financial health short term, we need to dedicate time. We need to spend in accordance with our income. We have to have our debts manageable, and we have to be prepared to face an adversity. So that's, I think, all agree. But what about the budgeting process and how to do it? And especially if we kind of feel that we need to cut certain expenses, no? So if we don't find enough money, maybe for our financial planning, no, we don't find enough money for investing, for saving long term. So how should we do the budgeting process? Now here comes because one thing is monitoring costs, the other one is how can we make also in the next step. No, once we monitor costs, what else can we do? And I think it's important to see that budgeting doesn't have this negative connotation, no, where it's not because we are forced to do it. It's not because it's we think it's unpleasant. It's because we have to cut on costs, no, and you have to cut on costs, so it kind of gives you a bad feeling again. No, I think it's important to see it from a positive perspective, no. So our final goal is actually happiness. I think if we are creating a budget, now, if we start from zero, if we don't have it and we have certain goals, then it is actually a 1-year project. And it sounds long, but I think if we look at our family finances, and we really want to analyze what is happening, and we want to implement certain changes, then we need to see how it develops over the year, because over the year lots of different events happens, lots of unexpected expenses happen, and only looking at through certain statistics, relatively long term, we are able to implement real changes. And I think it's very important, if we want to implement changes, that all family members have to be involved. They all have to be briefed on the goal of what they're doing, no? Because if we are just starting monitoring money, and it gives us lots of emotions, I think. So everybody has to be on board of this project, no? So we started monitoring all the costs. We are looking at what we are doing. We want to implement certain changes with a certain goal for the future, no? So, and all together have to be involved in it. Obviously, depending on the age of the children, and the exposure to numbers can be different, but actually everyone should be on board. I think when we start, then 80-20 rule is okay, no? Because we not always have to go into very, very precision. So if we start with the big expenses, that's already good enough. But as we progress over the year, then we can go into more detail. Also, if why I say that it's a long-term project, also why it takes time, is because I think when you start doing it, then you realize that maybe your banking is not really banking provisions, banking providers, the way you were using your finances are not very easy to and user-friendly, let's say, to do budgeting. So in my case, it was certainly this way, because we use different cards. You use Amazon. There are lots of expenses coming from different places, and to put them all in one Excel has been an enormous task in the beginning. So in order to accommodate my budgeting, I had to eliminate certain cards. I had to rearrange certain, let's say, costs which were going through different accounts. I really have to redesign lots of our banking for the budgeting process and monitoring process to be user-friendly for me, because otherwise it took too long time, and so I wouldn't do it, no? Or I would commit mistakes, I get frustrated. So it was a process. So I had to design it for myself. And here, that's what I say also, you need to find a strategy which works for you. So, but at least to have monthly costs and monitor monthly cost per category is very, very important. No? So if you are able to do it on an even more regular basis, it's better. But once a month is good. And it has to be done with a long-term perspective. So you are actually creating information there, and you will do something with this information. I think the whole purpose of budgeting is that you will use this information for certain decisions, not just to do it for the sake of doing. It's lots of work. No? But if we're using this information to reach our financial goals, to diminish our financial anxiety, to be able to save, to be able to, I don't know which other decisions we want to make, then it really makes sense, and we are much more motivated. And doing this, we still have to keep fun and enjoyment in life. No, so managing expenses have. I don't. It sounds really sad. I think it's difficult to have it really as a fun activity. But the purpose of doing this is to enjoy life more, not less. When we evaluate our spending, when we really want to save more, no, because that's the question I get a lot, is I already do everything. I don't think I can save more. I want to invest. Where do I get money to invest? What can I do to save? So here I started looking at some books I'm reading about actually even happiness and depression, lots of stuff. And some ideas come up. So one which I really liked, and it says, when the little energy we have is spent doing things that are unrewarding, we continue to deplete ourselves mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. So this, I think, is exactly right with money. No, so when the money we spend doing things which are unrewarding, we feel bad about ourselves and deplete ourselves mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. So we really have to evaluate our spending from this perspective, no? Because otherwise we feel in this circle. No, I'm spending money, I cannot earn enough, I spend again, so it makes us really feel bad. So find these things which we find unrewarding and which actually are burden for us, because maybe we're spending to make somebody happy. No, maybe we do it because somebody a long time ago said that it's a good idea. No, so we really have to be critical about it. And the fastest way to feeling better and staying better is doing the things that keep us feeling well. So it is, I think, important also, if we start finding a way to save, to not eliminate things which makes us happy. So when cutting our budget, let's sure to preserve the small things which keep us feeling well. Now, and here we will have to do some reflection of what really feels us well, makes us feel well. But it's important to keep these things for ourselves. So, and I think as women, we are very good in cutting things for ourselves. No? And that I hear from different women. No? So that we actually, the first cost we will do is something which we spend on ourselves. No? It is important for us to still feel well. Wrong ideas about budgeting. Budgeting is for people with money problems. Budgeting is for money obsessed. Budgeting will expose my bad behavior. No, so that's kind of another thing. No, I feel bad because I spend something. So once I start doing budgeting, it will all come out and I will feel bad. Budgeting is my punishment for overspending. So why should we use budgeting? Two quotes again from Carl Richard. Budgeting equals awareness. Its purpose isn't to punish ourselves for spending money. It's to become very aware of how we're spending our money so that we have enough for the things that matter most. And budgeting allows the opportunity to see the gap between what we say is important to us and how we spend our money. So that one I think is very important. No? So that when we have everything in one row, when we have all these numbers, then we kind of can see if we spend money really on what we say is important for us. No? So we say that we enjoy traveling, but maybe we spend more money on something else, which is less as important for us. I think the really biggest reason why we avoid budgeting is fear of feeling bad about ourselves. And so it is important to find a way to do it without feeling bad. When we evaluate our spending, we need to make a list of our values. We have to rate our spending based on our values, identify the ones which are less fitting, eliminate or find replacement. No? So sometimes we are stuck on doing something because we think it brings us closer to our value, but it's actually not. No? So we want to have a family time, but there are different types of having family time. So maybe going to a restaurant is not the only way to have a family time. No? So obviously, it requires adjustments, it requires changes, but yeah, once the value is clear that what we want is to be together, then there are different ways how we can be together, spending less money or spending more money, depending on what we want. And the last one, the one which I found, which I really like, says that there is enjoyment, satisfaction, and meaning model to reach for happiness. So when we look at our spending, we can use these three chapters to see which one it fills, and it has to be balanced between that. So analyzing your numbers. Use payments which are easy to trace and analyze. No, as I said, so adjust the system. If it's too complicated, just skip it. But once we cannot find back our spending, once we cannot put it in a budget, it becomes a black spot, and it's important to have everything in one place. Create a system which fits your purpose. So there is no one template. You have to find a template which works for you. And accumulate sufficient data to make the right analysis. So we cannot analyze 2 months and make really conclusions. We need to have certain time span, and then we need to use percentages. We have to compare one category to the other. We have to compare categories with our income. So we really have to work on the numbers. And somehow we have to find pleasure in doing it. So, and that's that's everybody's task, how to make it into a pleasant process. But if it won't be pleasant, we will not be doing it. So what is enjoyment, satisfaction, and purpose model? This comes from another writer, Arthur Brooks, and I really liked it. So what makes us happy are 3 things. One is enjoyment, but enjoyment is the pleasure you get, plus the people that you enjoy it with and the memories that you are making. So he really insists, and if we think about it, so he really says that if something which you enjoy, you continuously do it by yourself, then you're in a danger to make it into addiction. Yeah, so between sitting and drinking yourself and drinking with friends, with friends, it was more into enjoyment. If you're doing by yourself, it's closer to the addiction. So if you are just sitting at home doing something by yourself, it's unlikely you get enjoyment from it. If you do it with other people, there is a higher chance of enjoyment. So when we evaluate our costs, when we want to cut on something, I think it's useful to keep this in mind. What is really enjoyment? So then, if it's with other people, if it brings you energy, if you're creating memory, then it's something to be kept. Now, if it's something which is just a short-term spending money on a short-term, which is not memorable, which we will hardly remember the next day, which actually maybe even feels us bad, so then this is the one we should eliminate. Then we have a satisfaction, and satisfaction is the joy you get when you struggle for something and you get that. Your satisfaction is your haves divided by your wants. Manage your denominator with a wants management strategy. So here I think if we translate it into money, then actually saving for something actually gives us satisfaction. It actually gives us an element of happiness. So if we have a goal, if we save for a goal, if there is something which we really wanted and we manage to come to it, then it gives us more satisfaction than just spending short term on something which doesn't even give us enjoyment. So we can get satisfaction from maybe suffering a little bit on the way because there is a bigger goal there. So that's another element. And the last one is purpose or meaning. he describes this as a very big, why am I alive and for what am I willing to die today? So that's like what is really, really important for us. So if it's so important, then spending money on that will make us very happy. That's why I think lots of us love spending money on kids, no? Because there is a clear meaning to it. No, so the other spending, you can argue, no, but I think all of us, at least lots of women in my community, we are happy to give the last what we have to our children, no, because this has a meaning, no. So this spending, you don't see it as a spending, you see it as an investment, no. And there sometimes we have actually to manage ourselves, no, because there are also priorities, and our personal financial well-being and our long-term financial well-being is a priority. So these are like the big things I wanted to talk about today. Anna, what do you think?
Make me think, right? This relation between money and enjoyment really makes me think. And in fact, when you made the example about the kids, is true. At the end, it's true. I really feel satisfaction that, for example, now I'm preparing a little trip on, in December for 4 days. We will go to the North Spain. So being able, I'm divorced, so in a way, so being able like to give this to my children, to go to a nice place that we are going to enjoy. I'm looking for restaurants or whatever. So is very, yeah, I never have been so really put the awareness on this relationship between money and the satisfaction, right? To give pleasure and joy with others. So it's very interesting because in fact, in my culture and the way I grew up, we didn't talk about money, money was like, it doesn't exist, but in fact was everywhere because in fact it's everywhere, right? So I think also this approach, this mindset is very positive and healthy.
Good. Well, good. You like it. Any other comments? Anything else which I talked about which resonates, or maybe which you don't agree with?
No. So far it resonates everything. Yeah. And more. The more things I keep thinking is it's yes. As you know, is my challenge. No, it's really to take time to think on the long-term perspective. I really live on the short term. I live very well. So in none of that, I have learned to live very well. So I surf very well uncertainty. So this is why when the big crisis like in 2008 or 2012 arrived, of course I struggle, but I surf much better than other people. So I don't need to have everything under control. In a way, it gives me a freedom, but I'm aware that I need to think also a little bit on the long-term perspective.
I understand. I think it's very difficult. I think some of us are very keen to go into long term, no, sacrificing too much from the short term, which is not healthy at all. No, so it is, and others are vice versa. So it's very difficult to find the balance, no. And I guess also there are different moments of life when you value one thing or the other, no. So your personality changes, but I think it's important to evaluate and reevaluate, and it's a process. So that's why I think budgeting is it's just a way, to also look at what you are doing, no, because at the end money says exactly what you are doing with your life, no. It's
yes, absolutely. And absolutely. And I didn't have so much this awareness, but in fact, yes, I had. Now that I'm older, I have more awareness than before, of course. Yeah.
Great. Well, I think that's, let's say for the presentation, that's a big part. I think it's enough for today. If there would be more questions, I prepared some more ideas. but I think as a big chunk of information, I think this will be interesting for those who wants to learn more about budgeting, and then the ways to budget. I will share it more as a template and more as an article separately. So I will
Thank you.
stop the video.